The government announces development plans for New Territories North Newtown. Age restrictions for billiard halls will be relaxed. And Donald Trump discusses China and Russia via video link at the World Economic Forum. Hello, happy Friday. I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. The government announced development plans for the New Territories North Newtown and Mat So Lung areas. Mimo Singai reports.
The northern metropolis occupies an area of 30,000 hectares and is categorized into 4 sections, each with a different developmental purpose. The Hongshou-Qiu and Laofoushan area is focused on promoting high-end professional services and will serve as a logistics hub. The Shantin and Yaotanmei area has been designated as an innovation and technology zone. The Shatougo and Robin's Nest area has been set aside for tourism and conservation. The New Territories North Newtown, located in Fanlan and Shenzhou North, has an area of nearly 1,200 hectares. The section includes 3 border ports, Luohu, Mankamtou, and Hanyuwai. In a Legislative Council meeting, the Development Bureau announced the project's 4 major development themes. These include emerging industries, culture, education, and sports. The authorities said the project will be carried out in phases and require at least 20 years to be completed. The Bureau proposed prioritizing the development of the nearby area of the Hanyuwai border port, which has a land size of 206 hectares, and turning it into a commercial, residential, and education center. The plan also includes at least 17,000 private flats.
當地嘅居民係可以一齊去分享個發展成果。
The core of urban-rural integration is that residents should be able to share in the results of economic growth. But now the urban and the rural parts are still segregated. Will rural residents get to share in the success of economic growth? I don't see that element reflected in the plans for the northern metropolis. We want to start a study about rural-urban integration. We will look at the mainland and also overseas experience. We want to learn from these places to see how you find out about what's special about a village, the rural part, how we get the rural residents involved.
The authorities added the construction of public housing is not the project's main objective. Mims 9, TVB News.
The Leisure and Cultural Services Department has relaxed restrictions on children and youth entering billiard rooms. Licensed billiard halls that meet the requirements can apply to the Leisure and Cultural Services Department, or LCSD, for eased restrictions starting from the 25th of next month. This includes lowering the minimum age of entry from 16 to 8 years old. Currently, youths are prohibited from entering billiard halls from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m., but this will be shortened to 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Students in school uniforms will also be allowed entry. Considerations for the requirement factors of billiard halls include the operational conditions of the billiard rooms, surrounding environments, and its facilities. The aim is to promote the development of local billiards sports. The Center for Health Protection, or CHP, said they've completed their investigation into the food poisoning clusters among passengers on 2 Cathay Pacific flights from Nepal earlier this month. The health official said they couldn't rule out that the food poisoning was caused by beetroot salad contaminated with Staphylococcus aureus served on board the flights. A total of 43 passengers on CX-640, which arrived in Hong Kong on January 8th and 9th, developed symptoms of food poisoning such as vomiting and nausea. The investigations reveal that all 43 affected passengers had consumed the food served on board, and they'd not eaten any other common food before the flight. stool samples from 2 patients tested positive for Staphylococcus aureus. The CHP said, based on the analysis of the case control study, the beetroot salad served on board was the only food significantly associated with the disease. The government launched the development blueprint for the tourism industry last month, with one of the concepts being tourism is everywhere in Hong Kong. Some political parties researched tourism hotspots in 18 districts in Hong Kong. Samantha Lee has the story.
The government is eager to identify and develop popular and attractive tourism hotspots at the district level. The Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions has published a research report on tourism spots across various districts in the city. Among the 10 travel routes proposed by the party, the patriotic tour covers places such as the Hong Kong Palace Museum and Shuttlecock Anti-War Memorial Hall. The party also suggested a journey to major religious sites, including Tian Tan Buddha, Wang Tai Sin Temple, St. John's Cathedral, and mosques, which would allow travelers to know more about local religious culture.
Apart from the traditional shopping theme, we are quite well recognized in international arena. We would also like the international tourists to know about how Hong Kong is naturally beautiful in a sense that we have different islands and different harbor fronts.
The Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions also suggested that local historians, cultural institutions, and residents can work together to discover more cultural travel routes. Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong, or DAB, also reviewed their study report. The party urged the authorities to make use of the brand of the Hong Kong UNESCO Global Geopark and hold geological-themed activities with other geoparks in the mainland. To leverage the panda economy, the party suggested that each district can hold panda-themed events and set up decorations which encourage travelers to explore different places across Hong Kong. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump said at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, that President Xi Jinping called him when asked about the discussion that was held between the 2 leaders. Trump said they discussed the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, saying China has a great deal of power over that situation and will work with them to end the war. Tracy Furness has more.
Speaking via video link from the White House to business and political leaders attending the World Economic Forum in Davos, President Donald Trump ran through his flurry of executive actions since his swearing in and said that he had a massive mandate from the American people to bring change. When asked about his discussion with President Xi Jinping, there was some confusion as to who called who.
And we know that you called President Xi Jinping last Friday. We heard that you had a good discussion. How do you see the relationship between the U.S. and China in the next 4 years under your leadership?
He called me, but I see it very good. I think that we're going to have a very good relationship. All we want is fairness. We just want a level playing field. We don't want to take advantage. We've been having massive deficits with China. Biden allowed it to get out of hand. He's $1.1 trillion deficit. It's ridiculous. Hopefully China can help us stop the war with, in particular, Russia, Ukraine. They have a great deal of power over that situation. And we'll work with them. And I mentioned that with during our phone conversation with President Xi. And hopefully we could work together and get that stopped. We'd like to see denuclearization. In fact, with President Putin prior to an election result, which was frankly ridiculous, we were talking about denuclearization of our 2 countries, and China would have come along. China has a much smaller right now nuclear armament than us, or field than us, but they're going to be catching it at some point over the next 4 or 5 years. And I will tell you that President Putin really liked the idea of cutting way back on nuclear. And I think the rest of the world, we would have gotten them to follow. And China would have come along too. China also liked it.
Trump also addressed US and EU relations, telling his audience the European Union treats the US unfairly. We have hundreds of billions of dollars of deficits with the EU, and nobody's happy with it, and we're going to do something about it, Trump said. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The Ministry of Commerce, for the first time, responded to Donald Trump's proposal that half of the popular short video platform TikTok should be owned by the U.S. The ministry urged Washington to provide a fair and just business environment for companies. Danny Zhou has the story.
When asked about Trump signing an executive order delaying the TikTok ban while advocating for 50% U.S. ownership, a spokesman for China's Ministry of Commerce said it is hoped that the U.S. side will listen more to the voice of businesses and the public and do more things for the well-being of the people. He stressed Beijing takes a firm stance against practices that undermine the basic principles of a market economy and legitimate rights of enterprises. Meanwhile, Trump said earlier this week that his administration may increase duties on Chinese goods by 10% from next month. The spokesman said tariffs are not good for China or the US or the entire world. He expressed willingness to negotiate with US authorities on trade on the basis of mutual benefit to properly manage differences. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Still ahead, over 60,000 people take part in Kai-Tak drills this evening. President Xi Jinping visits steel factory in Liaoning province. And teenage British stabbing attack perpetrator jailed for over 50 years. Welcome back. Sources say Kai-Tak Sports Park will officially open on March 1st. Its largest trial drill to date was conducted this evening. Anip has the story.
At around 5 p.m., people participating in the drill began to arrive at the Kai-Tak Stadium. Entry to the stadium required the checking of personal belongings. Discipline Services musician bands arrived early to rehearse for their performance. In addition to the Kai-Tak Stadium, the Kai-Tak Arena, and the Kai-Tak Youth Sports Ground had people entering the venues all at the same time. This drill involved some 63,000 participants, including civil servants, their families, and community groups, reaching the park's maximum capacity and marking the largest number of people to take part in any drill at the facility to date. The entry time was chosen to coincide with weekday after-work hours to test traffic capacity. This man said it was smooth coming from Kai-Tak Station, and there were signs indicating directions to the 3 venues. He said he was aware the MTR would have extra trains tonight. This lady said the police and volunteers provided directions for participants and that it was a relatively long walk, but benches were added for people to sit and rest. The drill included entry testing, simulating emergency situations that require urgent evacuation, and various scenarios for simultaneous exits. Bus companies will add 10 special routes for dispersing crowds, while the MTR will arrange special entry and exit measures at the Kai-Tak Station and Songwon Toi Station, while increasing service frequency on the Tuen Ma line. The Chief Secretary for Administration, Eric Chan, along with several government officials, will summarize the situation after the drill. A large-scale performance will be held at the Kai-Tak Stadium on its official opening day. Ann Ib, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping inspected a time-honored steelmaker in Benxi City during his trip in northeast China's Liaoning province. President Xi yesterday visited a cold rolling mill of Ben Steel Group and received a warm welcome from the staff members. While examining the intelligent integrated control system and production line, the president learned about the company's efforts in accelerating transformation, upgrading, and promoting high-quality development. Ben Steel has been revitalized through restructuring with Ansteel, he noted, adding that continued efforts should be made to optimize industrial structures and contribute more to Chinese modernization. A teenage killer who stabbed 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in northwest England was sentenced to 52 years in prison. David Garrett reports.
The killer was filmed in a taxi as he arrives at the Hart Space on the 29th of July last year. Axel Rudakabana, then 17 years old, enters the Hart Space where a Taylor Swift-themed dance class was taking place. He stabbed to death 3 girls aged 6 to 9 with a knife identical to this one. Other weapons were seized. Rudakabana pleaded guilty to 10 attempted murders.
Had he been 18, I make it clear that I would have been compelled to impose on him life imprisonment without a minimum term, otherwise known as a whole life term, meaning that he would never be released. However, the law does not permit such a sentence for those offenders who are under 18 when they offend. I sentence him to custody for life with a minimum term which he must serve in custody of 52 years.
The killer's been described as having an unhealthy fascination with violence, evil and intent on mass murder. Police had interactions with Rudakabana before the murder over a 3-year period. Lancashire Constabulary have reviewed their own actions. The force are holding back their findings for a public inquiry which will examine why Rudakabana was not deemed a threat.
The absence of evidence of a motivation means that these acts have not met the legal definition of terrorism. But to be clear, that does not make the horrendous acts any less terrifying or terrorising.
The aftermath saw race riots in Southport and elsewhere. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper says the law must be changed to stop teenagers buying knives online. David Garrett, TVB News.
Donald Trump has ordered the launch of a presidential working group to promote cryptocurrency, an industry that faced scrutiny during the Biden administration. Danny Joe has more.
Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order in the Oval Office to form a working group on digital asset markets. It will be chaired by venture capitalist and former PayPal executive David Sachs.
Yeah, this is the crypto EO. We're going to be forming an internal working group to make America the world capital in crypto under your leadership.
Which is really going up, right?
Absolutely.
Senior government officials such as the Treasury Secretary and Secretary of Homeland Security will join the group. They are set to draft new regulations for digital assets, including stablecoins, and assess the creation of a strategic Bitcoin stockpile. The group will submit a report to the president to outline regulatory and legislative proposals within 180 days. The new order also includes a section that promotes US dollar-backed stablecoins around the world, while banning the US government from establishing central bank digital currency. Danny Joe, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.